Sports, 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 sports.
Hey there, sports fans. Welcome to Sportsball, part of the SPDM Crew podcast. We talk about sports-related topics, but we focus on you, the fan, and what you like, whether it's a sport, team, sports-related news, athlete, or sporting event. And boy, are we talking about a sporting event because it is March Madness time, baby. So we are going to be filling out my bracket, and I'm going to be doing the men's and women's side. Mind you, I'm filling out this bracket with next to no knowledge of anything that is going on in college basketball, with the exception of a handful of things. So I'm going to try my best. So I'm going to fumble my way through this. Just kind of stick with me on this. So what I'm going to do is that I've got, and these are my legit brackets. I'm not going to do like, hey, I'm just going to pick any symbol that has the color red in it. Although I think that'd be a great idea. But anyways, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go through the men's and women's brackets. I'm going to fill out my bracket and I'm going to submit them for a work thing. So let's see. Let's see how long this takes. So let's go South Region first. First, one seed is Auburn, and the other seed is a play-in. So I'm just gonna go with Auburn on that one. We got Louisville and Creighton. So let's see. So Louisville's 27-7. Creighton's 24-10. Let's see, Creighton's got the better player. Noticeable results. So they haven't really played much of anyone of note lately, at least. So they lost. So Louisville lost to Duke in the ACC tournament. Beat Clemson, Pitt, Clemson, but they lost to Kentucky. They lost all the bad people. So, and then as for Creighton, they beat Kansas back in December. So I guess there's that. They beat UConn in the they lost to St. John's, who they won the Big East tournament. Interesting. Okay. I think I'm gonna go with Louisville on this. So that was the 8-9 matchup in the South. We got Michigan and UC San Diego, and this is the 5-12 matchup, which there's always a 5-12 matchup that has an upset. Michigan's got way more losses than UC Cal San Diego, so but Michigan also plays in the Big East. So there's that versus all these scrubs that UC San Diego has played. They've got a better record. They've got a couple guys that have kind of been doing some good stuff there. Oh, and this is UC San Diego's first time in the NCAA tournament. So I'm thinking I'm just going to pick Michigan with that. I got Yale and Texas A&M. So traditionally, the what is it? The Ivy League winner has usually done pretty well, and Yale is. Oh, okay, never mind. Texas A&M with that. For our 6-11 matchup, we've got let's see, Ole Miss, and then the 11th seed will either be San Diego State or UNC. Really, I'm gonna go Ole Miss on this one. Let's see, 3-14 seed. We got Iowa State versus Lipscomb. Go Iowa State. Number 7, Marquette. Number 10, New Mexico. And this one's a little tricky because New Mexico has traditionally done very well in the NCAA tournament, despite the fact that they're not playing great competition. So I'm actually going to go with New Mexico on this in this slight upset. And then the final one, Michigan State versus Bryant. That's the 2-15 seed, and I'm just going to go with Michigan State. All right. The West, we've got Florida versus Norfolk State. Let's go with Florida. 8-9, we've got UConn versus Oklahoma. So UConn is the defending national champion. They've admittedly not had a very great year this year, by their standards at least. Oklahoma didn't have a strong year either. They lost to Kentucky in the SEC tournament, so that's not great. Only notable win is against Arizona in November. Okay, UConn with that. All right, number 5 seed Memphis versus the number 12 seed Colorado State. Both of these, they're mid-major schools, so that's interesting. Memphis, their last notable win against anyone of note was Ole Miss. That was back in December, so they haven't played anyone of note in a long time. And Colorado State, they at least played Boise recently, so or Boise State, who I thought they were on the bubble for a while. I'm gonna pick the upset on that one. Okay, we got Maryland and Grand Canyon State, so that's the 413 pick. Maryland's kind of had an up and down year. Grand Canyon State is Grand Canyon State. Yeah, I'm the Maryland with this. Oh, the Battle of the Midwest. So we got Mizzou versus Drake. That's the 6-11 matchup. Drake has had some interesting goes in the NCAA tournament. So I'm gonna go with Drake on this one, mainly because I'm not a huge fan of Mizzou. So we got Texas Tech versus UNC Wilmington. I'm gonna go with Texas Tech there. Kansas versus Arkansas. So Arkansas is coached by, I think, John Calipari. Yeah, John Calipari's coach in Arkansas versus Bill Self. That's quite the interesting road. However, also Arkansas has not had a great track record in terms of people that they've beaten in the or just the this year versus Kansas, who they haven't either as well. So I think since this is Calipari's first year, the NCAA tournament, I think is one and done. So let's go with Kansas. Next, we've got St. John's versus Omaha, and I'm just going to go with St. John's. Okay. In the East, we've got Duke versus a playing team. So let's go with Duke. For the 8-9 matchup, we got Mississippi State versus Baylor. And boy, both of these have double-digit losses, so that's not great. Let's see. Mississippi State at least beat Texas A&M about a month ago, so there is that. Whereas Baylor has only beaten Kansas in early February, so that's probably not great. I'm gonna go with Mississippi State on this one. 5-12, we got Oregon versus Liberty. So Liberty is another one that has occasionally pulled some upsets in the NCAA tournament, and for just a mid-major like Liberty, I'm not sure they could beat someone like Oregon, so I'm just going to go with Oregon. 413, we've got Arizona versus Akron. I'm going to go Arizona. Let's see. BYU versus VCU. So let's see. George Mason. Oh, George Mason. Cool. Versus BYU. They played Arizona, played Houston. They got smoked by Houston, but Houston's really good this year. I'm going to go with BYU. All right, 314, we got Wisconsin, and Montana. And I'm going to go with Wisconsin. St. Mary 7-10, St. Mary's versus Vanderbilt. I'll go with St. Mary's on that. And then Alabama versus Robert Morris. That's the 12-15 matchup, and I'll go Alabama. All right. In the Midwest, we've got Southern Illinois. Okay, hold on. Houston, and then we've got Southern Illinois University, Evansville. Seriously? Okay, that's awesome. So good for them. They ain't beating Houston, so let's just go Houston. 8-9, we've got Gonzaga versus Georgia. Huh, interesting. Okay, I'll go Gonzaga. This is my last chance for a 5-12. I already picked an upset, so we've got Clemson versus McNeese. I think that's how you pronounce it, so I'm going to go Clemson. Purdue versus High Point. I'm going to go with Purdue. Illinois versus whoever gets in versus with Texas or Xavier. That's interesting. I'm still going to go with Illinois on this. Got Kentucky versus Troy. I'll go Kentucky. UCLA versus Utah State. UCLA. And then Tennessee versus Wofford. I'll go Tennessee. All right. On to the second round. All right. My 1-8 matchup in the South is Auburn versus Louisville. I'll go Auburn. Michigan versus Texas A&M. I'll go Michigan on that one. My 6-3 seed, Ole Miss versus Iowa State. I'll go Ole Miss. And then New Mexico State versus Michigan State. I will go Michigan State. Florida. Okay. In the West, we got Florida versus UConn. Ooh, this one's going to be interesting because Florida. Interesting. Okay. Florida got in because they beat Tennessee. Oh, interesting. Excuse me. Do I go with the upset here? Because I feel like I'll go UConn. Fine. All right. Maryland versus Colorado State. I'll go Maryland, but I don't feel very good about it. Drake versus Texas A&M. I'll go Texas A&M or Texas Tech. I'm sorry. And then St. John's versus Kansas. I'll go St. John's. Okay. In the East, we've got Duke versus Mississippi State. I'll go Duke. 4-5 matchup. Oregon versus Arizona. I'll go Arizona. BYU versus Wisconsin, I'll go BYU for the upset, and then I'll go Alabama versus St. Mary's. I'll go Alabama. All right, finally in the Midwest, we've got Houston versus Gonzaga. I'll go Houston. Clemson versus Purdue. I'll go Purdue. Illinois versus Kentucky. Ooh, that's going to be interesting, but I think I'm going to go Illinois on that one. And then UCLA versus Tennessee. Hold on, wait a second. I picked Tennessee a little too quick on that one. Yeah, I'll go Tennessee on that one. Okay. Sweet 16. I got Auburn versus Michigan. I'll go Auburn, and then Ole Miss versus Michigan State. I'll go Ole Miss on that one. All right, UConn versus Maryland. I'll go UConn. St. John's versus Texas Tech. I'll go St. John's. Duke versus Arizona. Actually, I'll go Duke on that one. Alabama versus BYU. I'll go Alabama. And then Houston in the Midwest, we got Houston versus Purdue and Tennessee versus Houston or versus Illinois. And I'll go Tennessee on that. So we're down to our Elite Eight. Let's see. Go Auburn, St. John's, Duke, and Tennessee. Final four in the Southwest region is Auburn versus St. John's. I'll go Auburn, and then East Midwest, I'll do Duke versus Tennessee, and I'll do Duke. And then my national title game will be Auburn versus Duke. I'm picking Duke to win it all. And how many total points will be scored in the championship game? And I will bet that they will do 107. Okay. All right. I'm going to submit that bracket, and we are good to go. All right, so my national champ is Duke on the men's side. All right, let's do the women's side. All right. All right. So on the women's side, regional one. Let's see. We got UCLA versus. Let's just go UCLA. All right. For the 8-9 seed, we got Georgia Tech versus Richmond. I'm going to go Richmond. We got Old Miss 5-12, so Old Miss versus Ball State. I'm going to go Old Miss. Baylor, or 4-13, we've got Baylor versus Grand Canyon University. I'll go Baylor. Florida State versus George Mason. Huh, interesting. Okay. George Mason beat Notre Dame recently, so that's definitely a plus. St. Joseph's for George Mason. I'm still going to go Florida State. 3-14 seed is LSU versus San Diego State. I'll go LSU. Harvard versus Michigan State. That's the 7 and 10 matchup. I'll go Harvard because. NC State versus Vermont. NC State is usually done pretty well, so I'm going to go NC State. All right. USC or Region 4. USC versus UNC Greensboro. I'm going to go USC. California versus Michigan or Mississippi State. I'll go Mississippi State. Kansas State that's the 5 seed versus Fairfield, the 12 seed. Let's see. Ooh, Fairfield is a bit of an interesting matchup, but they've also played nobody. Okay, Kansas State. All right. Kentucky versus Liberty. I'll go Kentucky. Iowa versus Murray State. Iowa. Let's see. Oklahoma versus FGCU. Florida Gulf Coast University. That's right. So we'll still go Oklahoma. South Dakota State, the 10 seed versus Oklahoma State, the 7 seed. I'm going to go San Diego or South Dakota State, and then UConn versus Arkansas State. I'm going to go UConn. Region 2, we've got South Carolina versus Tennessee Tech. I'll go South Carolina. 8-9 is Utah versus Indiana. I'll go Indiana. Alabama versus Green Bay. It's another 5-12. I'll go Alabama. Maryland versus Norfolk State. I'll go Maryland. West Virginia versus a play-in, so I'll go West Virginia. North Carolina versus Oregon State. I will go North Carolina. Vanderbilt versus Oregon. I'll go Oregon. And Duke versus Lehigh. I will go Duke. Region 3, final region before we move on to the round of 32. Texas versus the play-in game. I'll go Texas. Illinois, number 8, Creighton, number 9. Let's check this one out. I'll actually go Creighton on this one. Lady Vols, so Tennessee versus Florida State. Or South Florida. Sorry about that. Tennessee's got actually a pretty strong resume, so I'll go Tennessee on that. Ohio State versus Montana State. I'll go Ohio State. Michigan versus a playing game. I'll go Michigan. Notre Dame versus a Texas team. I don't know, SFA. I'll go Notre Dame. Louisville versus Nebraska. I'll go Louisville. And TCU versus Fairleigh Dickinson. I will go TCU. All right, on to the round of 32. Let's go UCLA for the 1-8. Sorry, Richmond. Very sorry about that. Baylor versus Ole Miss in the 4-5 matchup. LSU versus Florida State. Actually, yeah, I'll go LSU for that one. And then I will do NC State over the 10 seed Harvard. USC in the 1-9 matchup. Kentucky in the 4-5 matchup. I'll go Iowa in the 3-6 matchup. And then I will do UConn in the 2-10 matchup in Region 4. Regional 2, we've got South Carolina versus Indiana. I'll go South Carolina. Maryland versus the 4 seed Maryland versus Alabama, the 5 seed. I'll go Alabama. North Carolina versus West Virginia. I'm going to go North Carolina. And then, Duke versus Oregon. I'll do Duke. Regional 3, Texas versus Creighton. So Texas is the 1, Creighton's the 9. I'll do Texas. Tennessee versus Ohio State. I'll do Tennessee. Notre Dame versus Michigan. I'll do Notre Dame. And then TCU versus Louisville. I'll do TCU. All right, moving on to the Sweet 16, I will do UCLA advances, and then I'll do NC State advances. I'm going to do, in Region 4, I'm going to do USC advances, and I'm going to do UConn, South Carolina in Region 2 versus Alabama, and then Duke versus North Carolina. I'm going to pick Duke. And then Region 3, this is where I have Tennessee advancing versus Texas, and then Notre Dame advancing versus TCU. Finally, in the Elite 8, I'll pick NC State, UConn, Duke, and Tennessee in that one. Oh, actually, no. I'll switch to South Carolina with that. So, no. Okay. So I'm going to pick UCLA instead. So my final 4 is UCLA, UConn, South Carolina, and Tennessee. And this is where I'm going to have UCLA versus South Carolina. And I'm going to pit South Carolina to repeat with a total score of 100 points on the dot. Okay, there we go. Those are my main brackets for the NCAA tournament this year. I don't expect to do very well because I didn't pay very close attention to college basketball this year, but hey, at least it's fun. At least I'm still looking forward to the tournament nonetheless. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'll be sure to update you on how horrible I do in my bracket, but hey, it is what it is. Let's have some fun with this. But that's going to do it for this episode of Sportsball. Be sure to like, rate, and subscribe to anything and everything SPDM Crew, wherever you get your podcast. Excuse me. Join us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, YouTube, and Blue Sky at SPDM Crew. Join us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, X, Threads, YouTube, and Blue Sky at SPDM Crew. Check out our website soon to be out, or check out our website at spdmcrew.com. Shout out to HiFlyer Creative Studios for making our awesome logo. Greatly appreciate their support. And if you have any marketing, logo, or brand standard needs, contact them at HiFlyerCreative.com. Check out the other shows on our network. We've got shows on movies, TVs, comics, physical media collections, Tolkien, trivia, a lot of different things that you could ask for. So check out our other stuff on the network. And if you've got a podcast idea or you're interested in being part of the SPDM Crew as a guest or collaborating, email us at spdmcrew@gmail.com. Until next time, pain heals, chicks dig scars, glory lasts forever.